Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Anybody? He picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
They have done it. Pop the champagne. The Chiefs have won a game. Welcome into the Arrowhead Addict post-game show. Sterling Holmes, Bryce Carter, Adam Best. We'll get into a lot of positives, a lot of negatives, some room for improvement, and a whole lot more. But let's at least celebrate. I don't care it's the Giants. They're off the schneid. They have a win. We saw some good things in this game. Not the first half, maybe the worst half of football I have seen from KC. But second half was a different story. Fellas, how we doing?
Doing great. I'm really proud of that secondary after a brutal first week in Brazil against the Los Angeles Chargers, where Chargers receivers were getting open at will. So now this is 2 weeks in a row where they basically shut down a top 5 NFL receiver in A.J. Brown and Malik Neighbors. Just a phenomenal turnaround by Dave Merritt, Steve Spagnuolo, Jalen Watson, Trent McDuffie, the safeties, all those guys. Really thrilled with their play. And also, I thought George Karlaftis and Chris Jones looked a little bit more like themselves tonight.
Yeah, Price.
Yeah, the halftime show was bleak. Me and the chat were going through it. I kind of channeled my inner Verderam there a little bit as far as I don't know, I even started adopting an East Coast accent. It was weird, but we were livid. But here's the thing. Being in that place and struggling is one thing, but being able to come back from that and recover, that's the stuff that is hard. And they were able to come back and recover. Was it pretty all the time? No. Do I feel incredibly different than I did before this game? No, not really. But they were able to pull out the win. They were able to get it together and come together for a good team win. At the end of the day, it wasn't close at the end. And we're just laughing at Russell Wilson, which is, really something that we've been doing most of the time here in Kansas City. So I will say, given how the first half went, I'm pretty happy with how the final result was.
Yeah. Huge shout out to Angry Drunken German as well as Slothy gifting subs. Appreciate you guys. Always nice, especially after a win, right? Everyone join in. Come join the Arrowhead Addict family, what we were doing, what we were building, how much fun we are having. Again, we're going to get into a lot of negatives because there are a lot of things I want to touch on. Jawan Taylor and the perpetual ability that he has to make me lose my mind is phenomenal. So good for him. We'll get into the whole accountability that Matt Nagy talked about with him that has never transpired at all ever since the first time he got pulled his first year in Kansas City against the Jaguars. The Chiefs have just let him do his penalty mantra game after game after game. But there were some positives, and I think Tyquan Thornton is one of those. He didn't come down with that catch for a touchdown. Thank you. Killed a parlay. Tyquan, you killed me, guy. That one hurt. That was a kick in the stones. But he came down with the harder one next time around. 5 receptions, 71 yards. The one touchdown, obviously, and that was a great touchdown. It wasn't just a deep ball. That one in the red zone was really, really nice. But what have you guys taken away from Tyquan Thornton? What he has done to help at least elevate his offense with the deep ball? Because I'm now thinking when Worthy and Rice are back, I'm sorry, Hollywood, I think Tyquan's the guy that you have to keep giving the snaps to.
Yeah, I agree. Patrick Mahomes looks like he trusts Tyquan Thornton to a degree he never trusted McCole Hardman, Justin Watson, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He really trusts this guy. He goes to him over and over again. And Tyquan Thornton doesn't always come down with it, but he challenges. He's a pretty good contested catch player. And I I don't know. He just seems like yet another New England Patriot wide receiver that they mismanaged. And I think we've unearthed a jewel here, and he's going to be a regular part of the rotation. You're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube here. Hollywood Brown is not the same player Hollywood Brown was 3 or 4 years ago. He can't challenge vertically. And I think that's what the Chiefs are going to need, because as much as everyone wants Xavier Worthy to be that player, he stretches the field horizontally and does all kinds of things, but he hasn't been a consistent deep ball tracker yet in his career. And Tyquan Thornton has proved to be that so far in Kansas City.
Yeah, man. Like with the general manager, Brett Veach, identifying Tyquan Thornton, and a guy who's sitting on the practice squad for over a year. And credit to Tyquan Thornton, the player too, who reportedly put on some weight. And I think it was good weight that's helped him win more on the outside. Tired Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, and Xavier Worthy. Wired Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, and Tyquan Thornton. He is exactly what you wanted MVS to be. And don't get me wrong, MVS had a decent season here. The second year wasn't nearly quite that. But he opens up the middle of the field. And that a vertical stretch, when they get Rashee Rice back, that's just only going to help Rashee Rice and Kelsey as much as possible. So, yeah, the rapport is there. And his ability to play through contact and come down with it, I mean, I've been very impressed. He's already nearing close a career high in yardage for him. After this game, like his career high in yardage is like 239 yards. He already has as many touchdowns as Sky Moore had as a Kansas City Chief. Absolutely huge to have him here in Kansas City. And again, like these are the things, these are the gambles that you take. Whenever it's like, who would ever trade a pick for Sky Moore? This is the thing. You do this. It's a rehabilitation project, but credit for the player and credit for the Chiefs for playing through it. Sometimes our St. Joe darlings do end up becoming true, real things.
Not Richie James, not for me. But again, he was a second rounder. This is the Patriots version of Sky Moore. There was something there why he was drafted as high as he was. And the Chiefs are reaping the benefits, at least so far. I do think it would look even better once you see Worthy and Rice come back. Again, I think he's going to start eating into Hollywood snap count once that transpires. Shout out to Phantom for the super chat. Appreciate you. Says, I know a win is a win. This has to be one of the least satisfying wins in recent history. I don't know. The first half, yeah. The first half was gross. It was ugly. And I went into this year, my hot take, which was not even a hot take, I said the Giants are the worst team in the NFL. I think they'll probably lose more games than the Saints because, one, the Giants have a really difficult schedule to begin with, and they're just not a good team. And you saw why I thought that. They do have some pieces. Cam Scadaboo's really nice. Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, Andrew Thomas. You look defensively. They have a very good defensive line in regards to getting after the quarterback. But that is it. Yeah, it wasn't a satisfying win, but I will say that the second half looked a lot better and a lot more promising. Even some of the creativity that the Chiefs had offensively was nice to see. Even that the results weren't always there. That 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, that was a beautiful play design, and Tyquan didn't get his head turned around quick enough, and Mahomes didn't put enough air on it. You saw a glimpse of something. You saw that counter run early in I think it was the first drive, that Pacheco went left. Some creativity in the run game, which was a glorious thing to see. So while, yes, I'm with you, wasn't satisfying, the game was ugly for the most part, but I do think there were some glimpses, at least for me, in that second half that goes, okay, this Chief team and coaching staff still has it. Again, doesn't erase the first half, but it gave me some sort of optimism.
Yeah, and I honestly, like, if we're talking about reasons to be optimistic, I think the thing that I come back to, the defense. And the last two games that the Chiefs have played, the defense is just so they have basically been able to like send the house every single time and try to make Russell Wilson and Jalen Hurts beat them. And to their credit, I think their performance last week looks a lot better after the second half of the Rams-Eagles game, where the Eagles really did start going to Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, right? But the defense after the Chargers game, you were like, boy, they made a huge mistake letting Justin Reed walk. They desperately need Kristen Fulton back, and now they look real good. The safety play has improved a lot. Hopefully Brian Cook is going to be okay. Noel Williams seems to be a revelation on the outside. I mean, I think that there's a chance that Christian Fulton when he gets healthy, when he gets right, might not necessarily come into a full-time playing role. So I think the defense is the thing that I feel the best about. And yes, the pass rush is still lacking. They got home twice in this game. There was a lot of like almost sacks that were right at the line of scrimmage, but the pressure was there. And this was a bad offensive line from the Giants, especially when Andrew Thomas went out in the second half after being on that snap count. But at least you're starting to see it. You see the coverage. Christian Wallace gets an interception. Jalen Watson gets an interception, gets his hand on another. Good to see them kind of convert on those opportunities. And they look athletic. You see them making plays on the ball. So that's the thing that I was most happy for, right? Where basically, if you think about it, the only touchdown that the Giants got in this game was aided by the Chiefs' stupid boneheaded penalties with a roughing the passer and I think an illegal contact. So overall, good things there on the defense.
Can we talk about Rashard Smith? We've been clamoring for him to get some touches, and I just think the dynamism and speed he presents on the field stretches and challenges the defense in a way that kind of throws them a curveball. I thought that kind of helped open the running game up a little bit, and it's exciting to see because after 2 weeks, he really hadn't done anything, and you're looking at these two kind of power backs and Pacheco and Hunt and thinking, well, I mean, they really need a curveball here. They really need a McKinnon. And tonight you saw maybe the first glimpse of a guy down the road who can give the Chiefs some of that Damian Williams, some of that Jerick McKinnon that they so desperately need.
Yeah, I liked it when you saw him on the field at the same time with Kareem or the same time with Pacheco. It felt like that was nice, getting him in motion, moving him around, making the defense think. It's what the Giants were doing with Jackson Dart with the option. Even when you hand off to Scadaboo, just having Dart on the field instead of Russ, it opens things up. Just having Rashard Smith in motion with the thought of the ball being handed off to him opens things up a little bit, alleviates some of the congestion in the middle for Kareem or Isaiah Pacheco. A couple super chats I do want to get to here. Wiley, appreciate you, says Tyquan Thornton is him. Got in the win column, getting better after half, look like last year's Chiefs. D warming up again. Let's go. I could not agree more. Again, that defense, ever since week one, looks absolutely outstanding. Super chat from Rhett. Appreciate you, Rhett. Says, Butker responsible for 7 missed points the last 2 games. When the offense is struggling, those points are needed. Let's get to that right here because I think that's a very important conversation to have. I mentioned it. I tweeted out. I am on Butker watch. It's official. We're on Butker watch now. I wasn't as mad when he missed that 58-yarder last week. People were clamoring and upset by that. I go, you're not going to make every single 58-yarder, okay? It's just not going to happen. It was a horrible kick, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But now with 2 missed extra points, yes, this one frustrating in regards to Kareem Hunt tacking on 15 yards. Don't do that. You should know better than that. But he just doesn't look right, especially with the fact of him trying to almost thread the needle of, I shouldn't go down and collapse that knee. Well, now maybe I need to because I can feel more comfortable doing that. It feels like his ball has a huge draw on it, even more so than normal. That draw is turning into a hook. Where are you guys at with Harrison Butker right now?
Boy, kickers are one of the most finicky things. We were talking about this watching college football because college kickers are always just an entertainment in their own. How Jake Moody gets drafted in the 3rd round and is just like cut from the 49ers after like tying the Super Bowl or setting the Super Bowl record for longest kick in a Super Bowl. Kickers are just finicky. Younghoe Koo a couple years ago was like the most accurate kicker in NFL history, and like he's been cut by the Falcons. I sure hope that's not what's coming for Butker. I do wonder if it has something to do with the follow through. Last year, he injured his knee because he was kicking and going down to a knee, which I don't know. I don't particularly remember a kicker doing that before, but I do remember seeing Butker doing it. At this point, you just have to look at the larger sample size and say, hey, hopefully he gets back on track. But it is definitely concerning. I used to always joke that back when the Chiefs were the 2018, 2019 version of themselves, that Butker missing an extra point just like made the Chiefs feel themselves a little bit because the offense was so good that kind of forced them to go for 2. And like him missing an extra point here and there was just like kind of worth it. But right now, the Chiefs and the offense where it is, their margin for error is just not there. right? Like he's missed about like 12 points of kicks, as the super chat said. That would have been pretty significant with the games that the Chiefs have played so far. So hopefully he gets it right.
Best?
I just don't like him changing his approach this deep into his career. It's like a like vaunted 3-point shooter in the NBA saying, my stroke isn't as pretty as it can be. I'm going to, work with a shooting coach this summer. It's like, no, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But we've seen him go through many slumps in the past, most notably in 2022 when he came back from an ankle injury. I think he'll right the ship. I trust Harrison Butker, especially in the big spots. He seems to kind of be a little shakier sometimes in games that aren't as meaningful. But come playoff time, he's always iced. I expect him to be iced. That's just who he is. That's who he's been. That's who I think he will be. I'm not panicking. I'm not even on Butker watch yet. It's too early.
I am on Butker watch, but I will point out it's a great call that when the game is on the line, I don't know if it's another kicker in the entire NFL that I want to have that kick than him. I mean, it's him and Brandon Aubrey. Obviously, Brandon Aubrey deserves to be in that conversation. What he's doing has been absurd. If you're not ever watching Cowboys games, Brandon Aubrey has been a machine.
Unfortunately, Fox subjects us to watching a Cowboys game at 3:30 every day.
Pretty much.
Sunday.
Yeah.
God, dude, what is up with that? Can we just take a second? There were so many good games in the noon slot. The Rams-Eagles game, or how about the Broncos Chargers game? And instead, I've got Tom Brady trying to gas up the Cowboys to me for the third time this year. Oh my God, just brutal. That game was hard to watch.
A couple of super chats I want to get to. So Pittsburgh Steve, Pigskin, we're going to get to you in just 1 second. One thing I want to hit on beforehand, and that is Underdog. Football's back, and you guys know the best spot to make picks and win money all season long is Underdog. It's super easy. Just pick whether your favorite players to go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. You get those picks right, you go up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. For this particular game, I had the under on Russell Wilson. Check. Easy. The under on Malik Neighbors. What a game plan by Spagnuolo and KC. Check. I had the higher on Patrick Mahomes' pass yards. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. We would have been good if that first Tyquan Thornton catch counted. I'm just saying. It killed me. But it's okay. It's that simple. I still had fun. Higher or lower. You can make the call right there on Underdog. And if you want, you can get $50 in bonus funds when you sign up and play with your first $5 with promo code Arrowhead Addict. Again, promo code Arrowhead Addict. Millions of fans have won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and President's Day where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See asset.underdogfantasy.com/web/plan and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY, text HOPE-NY 467-369. Dang it, I struggled there. Come on, I am better than that.
Did you do the like dot slash whatever?
Yes,
that one.
It gets you. It's hard.
It's hard, yeah.
All right, Steven, Pittsburgh Steve, always appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. Says, great win. Glad to get back in the winning column. Defense looks great. Step in the right direction. Let's go. Let's talk about the defense and the game plan that Spags has the past 2 weeks. What they did taking away Malik Neighbors in this game was outstanding. Wan'Dale Robinson didn't get much going. You're seeing Noel Williams really step into that CB3 role. I don't know what happens when Christian Fulton comes back because I think Noel Williams is getting his sea legs underneath him. He's been very physical at times, maybe a little too handsy. But overall, I've been very impressed with Noel. What is your takeaway so far? Again, I know it's the Giants. I know it's Russ. But again, with the secondary in totality from this game.
That's what I opened with. That's probably the most impressive thing of these past 2 weeks. The competitive game against the Super Bowl champs, and then really dominating the Eagles, at least from the defensive side. They didn't score a touchdown all evening. I just think the secondary has been outstanding. And I want to single out Jalen Watson. I just think Jalen Watson has been incredible. We saw him press Malik Neighbors out there on the boundary, provide blanket coverage, and then go up and beat him on a contested catch for an interception. You won't see a better play against a better player than that play by Jalen Watson against Malik Neighbors. He's tackling his ass off. He's just flying around. He looks like the Jalen Watson that we've seen glimpses of in the past as a rookie at times in the playoffs. This is like the most consistent these past 2 weeks I think I've ever seen him play. And then the safeties, they were brutal that first week. They were like borderline unplayable, unwatchable, and they've really turned it around. And yeah, I hope Brian Cooks is all right. But Chris Roland Wallace, good things seem to happen when he's on the field. He comes in, one of his first plays, gets an interception. I would like to see more of him. I think, Sterling, you and I have been talking about seeing more of him in the slot, but he's just a useful piece to have in terms of depth. And they're doing this without Christian Fulton, who is a good player in his own right. So, and Noah Williams, he has to be just scratching the surface. And as far as him being overly physical, I think Spags would prefer that to him being a little soft out there. You can dial back that physicality, but teaching an unphysical player how to be physical, it's a little harder.
I thought, by the way, this was I see in the chat someone was not fond of Nick Bolton in this game. He got away with a pretty obvious face mask. But overall, I thought Nick Bolton had himself a really solid game. I thought he blew up a couple of nice screen plays. I thought he was pretty darn good overall. He had one missed tackle on Cam Scadaboo, which, again, it's going to happen. But overall, he had 2 tackles for loss for a linebacker getting downhill quick. I thought he seemed at least maybe more decisive. Karlaftis got better as the game went on. I think Chris Jones got better as the game went on. I do agree that for how much money those guys are getting paid, this needs to be more consistent. But at least it was a slight step in the right direction. I'm not saying it was great. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying I'm content with the $50 million for CJ95 and Karlaftis and what's going on. But it did seem at least better than the first 2 weeks. So I will say that.
Yeah, and I mean, here with the secondary, I think one of the things that's like exciting is that there's youth there. Like there's room for growth with Jaden Hicks still. I think Chris Roland Wallace is becoming a better version of himself. I think you see it with Noah Williams. He reminds me a little bit of like early career Charvarius Ward, where it's like, okay, he's there. He's nearby the ball. He's making plays. He's physical. We just got to work on some of the more refined things, not getting hands to fight to the face at the line of scrimmage, getting his head around whatever. This was a Nick Bolton game all along. And because like they don't really have a running back that really tests you in the pass game. Although I will say, honorable mention to the Arrowhead Addict big board, which is much higher on Cam Scadaboo than the consensus. People get way too obsessed with the relative athletic score with running backs. Kyron Williams, one of the best running backs in the league, not a great tester. And Scadaboo is a good pass catcher. He led the nation in receiving yards this past year. But, you know, they don't really have a tight end that can challenge you. They don't really attack the middle of the field like some of these other teams do. And that's not Russell Wilson's game either. So I thought this was a good game for Nick Bolton to show out, filling up those run gaps. Like that's his strength. But yeah, man, this is one of the things, like, if you told me going back to that game against the Chargers, my concern was the offense isn't going to be able to be good enough to overcome a defense that's regressing. I think this is much closer to a top 10 defense versus like I was thinking like bottom 10 defense after the Chargers game. And that's a huge win.
Best. Any thoughts on Bolton, Karlaftis, and the defensive line? Again, not looking great, not looking outstanding, but again, looking better than they did the first 2 weeks. 5 tackles for loss combined between Karlaftis and Nick Bolton. I know some folks are complaining and saying, well, you brought back Bolton, and that means you can't bring back Justin. They give up 9 points. They held the Eagles to 20. Again, I'm not saying I didn't want to see Justin Reed here, but there's a lot of other decisions that have been made that I'm questioning versus bringing back Nick Bolton. I think the number one is that right tackle, which I'm going to get to in just one moment. But where do you land right here on the defensive line? Again, a bad Giants team, not a great Giants offensive line, but at least it felt like we started to see more pressure, especially as the game went on.
Sure. And you can't read too much into this one performance, but the same can be said about last week because the Philadelphia Eagles have the best offensive line in football. So I think things kind of balanced out. I liked what I saw from Chris tonight a little bit more. He looked a little bit more spry. I thought George Karlaftis had a great play on that 4th down. I think it was 4th down where Russ tried to bootleg out and he held contain. I thought Karlaftis was just a half second slow a bunch of times, especially late, but it looked a hell of a lot better than it did the first 2 weeks. And I thought Nick Bolton was great. Sure, everyone remembers him trying to blow up Cam Scatabo and not wrapping up. And that was kind of a highlight reel play for Scatabo. But the rest of the night, he was all over the place. He's flying around. He's making things happen. And the intangibles with Nick Bolton, he's the leader of that defense. He is the on-field brain for Steve Spagnuolo. He is an extension of Steve Spagnuolo on the field. I don't think we can underrate that for a defense that held the opposing offense under 10 points, how much that leadership and that communication and his intelligence means to that unit.
From Pigskin right here. Appreciate the super chat. Pigskin says, as a Chiefs fan, I feel like defensive tackle and running back are where we need the most help. What if we traded a first and next year's second for Dexter Lawrence and a fourth for Alvin Kamara? Make Smith a receiver as well. I don't think it takes a fourth for Alvin Kamara. I think you're probably looking at a fifth for Kamara at this point. Contract isn't insane. Dexter Lawrence, I doubt it because of the monetary number of having him, Chris Jones, Karlaftis. You're getting into a ridiculous situation that to me would be unfeasible.
He's untouchable. He's untouchable, right?
Yeah. Dexter Lawrence cap hits the next 3 years. So this year, $23.6 million. Next year, $26.9 million. 2027, $28.9 million. That's like, carrying like two Chris Joneses, right? Like Chris Jones is a little bit more than that, but yeah, that's pretty unpalatable, especially when you factor in in the Chiefs defense, he's more of a true nose. So he probably wouldn't be able to play every down. There's not a lot of formations that would feature Chris Jones and Dexter Lawrence, which I mean, to that point, it would be nice to have a real ass kicker in the run game. They don't currently have that guy, but yeah, I don't think that's what you're doing. I've got to laugh at this though. So post-game, Sunday Night Football, the reporter asked Chris Jones, you've never gotten a Russell Wilson jersey. Did you ask Russell Wilson for a jersey to Chris Jones? And Chris Jones responds, I don't even want it. The quiet quitting that Russell Wilson has been doing the last couple of years. It's fourth down, or it's fourth and goal. And he throws the ball away. My God. Like, I cannot blame the Giants fans. I mean, I feel for them going back to their $5,600 a night 1-inch apartment with half a bath that they have or whatever. You got to feel for them living in New York. But them wanting to see Jackson Dart getting excited every time he came in and run the triple option or whatever. But my God, man, the Russell Wilson performance tonight, dude is quiet quitting so hard.
Yeah,
I love Chris Jones so much. The subtext there is, I don't want this cornballs jersey on my wall. Yeah. Get out of here. Get out of here with that. just hilarious. Chris, always appreciate the frankness and honesty from Chris.
I do think Alvin Kamara, though, does make a lot of sense. And quite frankly, I would be calling. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is a fourth, but the Saints aren't going anywhere. They need to get younger. I don't think it's going to cost much. Again, it's a running back in today's day and age. He's also on a decent sized contract. I don't think it's a lot of draft capital to try and acquire Alvin Kamara, but I would be making calls ASAP. Super chat from Kraken. Appreciate you, Kraken. What is up with Big Bob and not getting many plays in the games? Yeah, Big Bob's not getting hardly any looks, not a ton of action out there. Travis Kelce is still playing a ton of snaps. It looked like he had tapered off a little bit in the second half there. Part of it was the Chiefs got out to a lead. I thought Noah Gray was really fun watching him on that third down do the Travis Kelce route, that instep outside move, the kind of little stick route, and it was beautiful. He picked it up, and it was easy looking. I liked it, and people were wondering, why'd you like that specific play so much? Because that is what it was going to look like, hopefully, post-Travis Kelce. Do the Chiefs have a guy on third down at tight end that Patrick can look at on those 3rd and 5s that you trust? That move right there was Travis Kelce-like. So that's why I was so excited. But to your question about the maybe lack of Big Bob in the offense, it's tied in 3. I know he looked amazing in preseason, and I even hyped myself up for that. I thought we'd see him a lot more in the red zone. End of the day, I just think when you get down there, they trust having Kelce and Gray more so than Big Bob.
Yeah.
I've been surprised at the lack of Robert Tonyan usage. I thought he looked great in preseason, and I do think that 3 tight ends is a solution here for some of the woes that they've had both in the run game and in the pass game with the lack of wide receivers. So I've been a little bit surprised, even just like a tight end screen or something like that. But I will say, like, I still am kind of surprised a little bit by the healthy scratch for Jared Wiley every week too. I think that the knee probably, maybe it's not as much of a healthy scratch as we're thinking, but I would like to see Tonyan get at least a look or two, because I thought he looked really good in preseason. And sometimes you can tell us like, oh, you're just Chiefs fans getting excited about preseason, but hey, Tyquan Thornton looked really good in preseason. He looks really good in the regular season too.
Let's get into the big convo.
Real quick on Bob Tonyan. I get that we are all excited about him. I was kind of getting into it too. I think we all kind of got caught up in it, but he didn't have a single reception last year. And the year before he had 11 catches for like 100 yards. So I think the league kind of like has an opinion on Robert Tonyan, and maybe that's because of injury and he's rejuvenated himself, but are we really that surprised?
I went into the big conversation. That's the offensive line, and that's one man in particular, and that's that Kingsley Sumatia looked pretty good. Now, by the way, I think Kingsley actually did look fairly good in this game. He may have been one of the better offensive linemen for KC in this particular game. I was enthused by Kingsley, but no, the real conversation is Jawaan Taylor. I have no idea what that man has on Andy Reid, on Andy Heck, on Brett Veach. I have no idea. Either Jalen Moore is that bad that he is just unplayable. They see him in practice and say, hey, we can't play this guy. We can't do it. Or he's got photos of someone. I mean, because I can't think of anything else. It makes no sense. This guy, it's not like even in this particular game, you can sit here and go, well, you know what? He looked good outside of the penalties. He looked horrible outside of the penalties. I mean, he was getting beat time and time again. He got called for the illegal formation, and then I think lined up farther back the very next play. He's very lucky he didn't get called. He had a false start. I think it was the Hollywood Brown deep ball, or was it the one that Juju dropped, but there was a illegal contact down the field. He false start. It was a blatant false start. It was like the Eagles tush push false start that didn't get called. Like, it's not like we can sit here and go, yeah, well, he does what Lane Johnson does. He doesn't. He's not doing what Lane Johnson does. And by the way, if you keep getting called, I don't care if Lane Johnson gets away with it. They're calling it on you, so stop doing it. You're getting beat quick. You're getting beat often, and you're a penalty factory. At some point, I feel bad. You're probably in your head. You're in your dome. Doesn't matter. Matt Nagy has talked about it. We have accountability, and he knows he can't do that. Does he know that? Because he keeps doing it, and there's nothing you are doing to hold him accountable. Show me Jalen Moore, unless, again, you were telling us right now that Jalen Moore is so bad that he is unplayable and that you still think that Jawaan Taylor is better. Otherwise, I have no idea why, at least for a drive to prove a point, you're not going to Jalen Moore.
My own personal version of hell is Jawaan Taylor getting a penalty and then Chris Collinsworth breaking it down on repeat for eternity. And it just seems like the same thing every single year. It's Groundhog Day. Like, Kingsley Sumatia got the hook after 2 games last year, right? Like, why are they staying by this guy longer this year when there's a better alternative in Jalen Moore than they had in 2024?
They had the graphic ready. They knew that he was going to get called because he does it every damn game. So they had the graphic ready. They had the illegal formation to explain to folks at home what he is doing wrong. It wasn't like they created that on the spot. They go, oh, the Chiefs are playing. Oh, Jawaan Taylor's playing. Make sure you guys in pre-production have this graphic ready to go and put on the screen. That is when you know it is ridiculous.
Yeah, man. Sterling, you hit it right on the head. I talked about this at halftime. Like, this makes me underconfident in Jalen Moore. At this point, you can't even argue the sunk cost fallacy of like, well, they're just trying to justify this contract. He's gone next year. There's absolutely no way that Jawaan Taylor's on this roster next year. at his cap number, and it will be Jalen Moore or a rookie. So at this point, you're just telling us that Jalen Moore is a total disaster, or you're just literally doing the definition of an insanity, doing the same thing and expecting different results. He's shown who he was. And at some point, I hate to say this because I don't think this is necessarily what he should have to do. But at some point, if you watch the Kingdom documentary, Patrick Mahomes basically tells the Chiefs, you get Wanya Morris the hell out of this lineup. It's the same damn move, he yells. And he does the same thing with Kadarius Toney in 2023 after he gets the ball intercepted off his hands again in New England and says, like, hey, we're done with this. I'm done with it. He told them. And at some point, Patrick Mahomes is going to have to say, like, this is bullshit. Like, come on. It's the same thing. It's been the same thing for years. Get him off the field, or just let us know that the Jalen Moore contract is an absolute disaster. Because that's really the only two conclusions you can come to.
I guess the only other possibility here is that they're waiting and seeing with Josh Simmons. They want to give Josh Simmons a month or so to see if he stabilizes and ends up being as good as he looks right now and as good as they think he will be, and keeping Jalen Moore as a swing tackle available for that. Like, that's the only other thing I can think about other than just like, we've got to give these five playing together for the first time and a new left side a chance to gel and build continuity. But
but I mean, if Josh Simmons goes down, that's Jalen Moore either way. Like, okay, Jalen Moore's playing right tackle, Josh Simmons goes down, Jalen Moore goes left side, and then Juwan Taylor comes in. You know, and like, here's the thing. You can't even argue like, oh, well, they want to show that locker room that if you get a big contract that you're going to get to play. Like, both guys got a big contract. Someone's sitting on the bench with a big contract either way. And I'm not going to ridicule the Chiefs for bringing in Jalen Moore, because a lot of people like to wish cast this where they're like, oh, well, you know, they signed Jalen Moore and then they drafted Josh Simmons. That was a bad deal. You had no idea you were getting Josh Simmons in the draft, right? So they kind of played that accurately. And guess what? If one of those guys gets hurt, you're going to be very glad to see Jalen Moore running in that game instead of Wanya Morris. So the process makes sense there. But at the end of the day, what kind of message are you sending to the locker room that, hey, it's totally okay for you to do the same shit over and over again and get called for penalties that are backbreaking, and we're just going to keep running you out there? And again, like, the thing that's changed here is there for a while, it was like Juwan Taylor gets penalties, but he plays well when he's not getting penalized. That's not even true anymore. The Brian Burns was eating his lunch, and then they bring in Abdul Carter. Brian Burns leaves for a couple snaps, and then Abdul Carter, the rookie's eating his lunch. I mean, like, at some point, it's just got to be like the benefits do not outweigh the negatives.
By the way, I saw a couple of comments that were just making me laugh. The Isaiah Pacheco, the backwards pass. At first, I'm going, what was Mahomes doing? And then you slow it down and you look it back. Oh my God. Pacheco was running towards the Giants' end zone. His back was turned. I have no idea what was going through his head. It's almost like when you watch like second grade basketball or like first grade basketball and like they score on the wrong goal. They have the, you know, they do the tip, start the game.
Ricky Davis, right?
Yeah, I don't know what was going through his head.
I coach my son's flag football team. Like, it practices from like 2:30 to 4:30, and we literally had a kid do this. We did so we run the offense, they score a touchdown, but then we do a conversion play. And one of the kids thought the conversion play was different, so he gets the ball. We do like a jet sweep. He instantly starts running the opposite way, which, I mean, is great if you're 5 years old. But if you're Isaiah Pacheco, my brother in Christ, what are you doing? And then the lack of effort it's a live ball, it's a backward lateral, which I honestly wonder if he didn't realize it was a backwards pass. The effort that he supplies to try to get that ball back, and then Patrick comes back and scoops that stuff. I've never seen a more emblematic play that just says like, hey, Patrick Mahomes is everything to this team than the man going and stripping a defender to get his own fumble back. I can't, dude.
It happened twice too. That backward pass, it happened twice to Pacheco. What is going on?
Yeah, it was not ideal. Not ideal. All right, let's give out some hardware. Let's give some arrowheads. Again, I thought there's a lot to take away positively in this game. I know if you just tuned in, we've been a little negative. If you listen to the first, I don't know, 3/4 of the show, I think we're fairly positive. We talked about a lot of great things, including the defense, how great the secondary looked overall. some of the deep ball situations being back with Tyquan Thornton, him making up for the drop and coming back with a John Baldwin-esque type catch. If you don't know that, that's a pull for you. I guess it wasn't a catch for John Baldwin. It got called back because I believe it was holding on the offensive line. Was Juwan Taylor back there? Was that what happened? Oh my gosh, he's still coming around. Even back then. All right, we'll go with Price first. Arrowhead, who you giving some hardware to?
Okay, well, since I get to be first, I'll take the easy cheese, and it's Tyquan Thornton. Okay, guy who comes back, who's completely remade his career, already approaching a career high in receiving yards with the Kansas City Chiefs just 3 games in. Had some big moments here, almost came down with it the first time, and then goes right back to him. That's something that I love too, is that the fact that like twice now they've almost had a deep completion and they go right back to him. I thought he's played through contact. He's got the blue paint on his helmet because he's playing through contact. Tyquan Thornton has been a revelation for this team, and like I said, I think he's MVS except way cheaper, and that's a huge win for this roster and this team. Shout out to him for taking advantage of an opportunity here in Kansas City.
Best.
I'm going to go with the other side of that connection and Patrick Mahomes. And what I'm going to single out about Patrick Mahomes is he's kind of the old Pat is back. And we have to really thank Tyquan Thornton for kind of saving us from this dink and dunk purgatory that Patrick has been stuck in. It would be very easy, no Rashee Rice, no Xavier Worthy, for him to just go into his shell and become the worst version of Alex Smith. But he isn't doing that. He is big game hunting. And I mean, even at the end there on that late 3rd and 4, when it is obvious salt away the game time, he's taking a shot, up 22-9. And you just love the aggressiveness being dialed up to 11. Spinal Tap is back. So got to give a reference there. Defensively, the aforementioned Jalen Watson, I just think he's been tremendous the last 2 weeks. And when he's playing this well opposite Trent McDuffie, it's basically impossible for receivers to eat back there. Jalen Watson.
I love Angry Drunken German. We'll all pretend we drafted Thornton instead of Sky and call it good. I like that. Yeah, we'll just say that. Yeah, the Chiefs drafted Tyquan Thornton. Sky Moore was drafted by the Patriots, and he's now the guy in San Fran. Good call. Good call. I got 2 guys. Defensively, Christian Roland Wallace. I thought, my thoughts on him. Last year, I wanted to see him. This was a guy I was tabbing. I think he's a good slot corner. He can do a little bit of everything. And you saw him play a lot more safety this time around. You saw him come down with the interception as well. A nice return, but he played that ball perfectly. Which, by the way, the entire defense in the secondary, they played the ball way more than I think we've ever seen. Normally, they're always playing their guy, which I'm content with, right? Like, they don't give a lot of big plays because they're always in the hip pocket of the receiver. But we saw way more eyes on the ball, and it was a glorious thing to watch, and I think a great example of that was Christian Roland Wallace.
Is that because of Russ? He put so much damn loft on those moon balls, Like, maybe it's a Russ thing.
Yeah, that's a great call. If you have more time to adjust because the ball's in the air longer, yeah, it's a good call. Either way, they did it, and I liked it. And then offensively, I'm doing it. Kingsley Suamataia, come grab your crown. We're kinging you. That was, I thought, a really good game by Kingsley. I thought he looked better. Again, 1 game sample size. A 1 game sample size. I think he looked better than Creed today. I think Creed normally has a lot better games. We've seen better games from Creed. It wasn't a bad game. That's kind of my point here. Creed didn't have a bad game, but I think we've seen better games from Creed. I think this was a really good game from Kingsley Suamataia. Was he perfect? No, he was not. But overall, I was impressed against a really good pass rushing front of the Giants.
I thought the first half that they played scared almost. Like it was almost like they were anticipating the pass rush. I highlighted it on the pregame show. Despite all the dogs they have up front, they rank towards the bottom five part of the league as far as pressure rate goes and sacks. That the Giants, like, they have these dogs, but they've not really gotten home a whole lot, So I think the second half they stopped playing so scared, and it really honestly helped them. And you saw them be a little bit purposeful about like rolling the pocket out, things like that to help the deep passing game. But they didn't play scared in the second half, and that was huge. And yeah, Kingsley, like the thing about Kingsley versus some of the other players like a Jawan Taylor is that like Kingsley, he just started his 4th game as a guard in the NFL as a converted tackle. There was a rep going around him where Mahomes had that insane scramble drill where he didn't necessarily look the best. I'm not concerned about that. Like you almost have to have eyes in the back of your head with everything that Mahomes does. At least he was up on the ball trying to do stuff to continue to help Patrick Mahomes. It didn't look good in the meantime, but man, I tell you what, that's really tough. And you know what? Mahomes completed the pass at the end of the day. So I'm still bullish on Kingsley's ability to grow and get better overall.
He's 22 years old. 22 years old, you know?
Yeah. So again, I will do it. I will give a Arrowhead to him. I see a couple in the chat. Houston defense attorney, Arrowhead to Spags. Yeah, Spags again. I thought he called a great game. Hey, the Chiefs finally won a game against the Giants in New York, right? First time. And Spags talked about how he had kept the Chiefs from a few of those, right? That's nice.
This is the first Chiefs double-digit win since the last time they played Russell Wilson against the Steelers. So Russell Wilson is the magic elixir.
Good luck, Jarman. Then a nice super chat from Wiley. Appreciate you. By the way, it's Wiley Possum, and I have a possum in my backyard right now. Love possums. They're great animals. The marsupial of America. They are
shout out to Briscoe.
They eat ticks and like dead birds and all this stuff. They're awesome. My dog is just terrified of this thing. I don't know if he thinks they're friends or enemies. I don't know, but he's terrified of the possum. The possum is now running our backyard. My dog will not allow that. But Wally Possum, appreciate the super chat, says, anyone else remember when we couldn't get a short yardage 3rd down ever? Then Kareem Hunt came back and he gets those tough yards. Arrowhead to that man. Yeah, again, Kareem Hunt, we know his limitations, but Kareem Hunt does have a role on this team. You don't expect explosive plays from Kareem, but if it's 3rd and 2, I like Kareem Hunt back there. If there's a good pass pro that he needs to pick up, there was one earlier on in this game where he picked up, I don't know if it was Thibodeau or Abdul Carter, but he destroyed that man. I mean, he gave it all he had. It was nice to see. So, yeah, Kareem Hunt for doing the dirty work. Again, I'm not going to expect great things. I think 10 carries is about the max I want from Kareem Hunt in a game at this point in his career, but he does brings a value to this team. Again, not the explosiveness, but the short yardage, grinded out yards. And again, in pass pro, I really liked seeing that. And by the way, I've seen a couple of a couple of chats saying, give an Arrowhead to Russell Wilson. Good call. Here's to you, Russ.
Chiefs legend.
Mr. Unlimited himself.
He was limited. Guys, appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Adam Best, Price Carter, I am Sterling Holmes. We are going to be here all week long, breaking up the upcoming game against the Ravens. We'll talk a lot more about this game as well, breaking this down in more detail earlier on in the week. So make sure you check out everything on the Arrowhead Addict podcast, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, a plethora of different things. We also have the Arrowhead Addict Discord. All the members, if you see and you got gifted a sub, check it out. It is a lot of fun. We hang out all the time in there, drinking beers, talking books, talking music, and of course, talking Chiefs. Chiefs move to 1-2 off the schneid, pop the champagne, have that ice cold adult beverage, wake up early, and Monday feels so much better with a Chiefs win. Until next time, we are out.